Hi everyone, D Matters here. Just thought I'll share some knowledge on some snare wire stuff that I've found during my times that might help you out just to find some different sounds of your snare drum and some really simple little things that make a big difference in achieving a certain type of sound. And I'll say it's a certain type of sound because I'm not saying that this is better or other ways are inferior at all. It's just that for some snare drums I've found that using what I'm about to show you, it has increased the sensitivity and kind of given a different character to the drum that I think just enhances how the snare wires are activated. But this is only something that I like doing. It's just a way of achieving a different sound. So you may not think it's going to be something you will use, and that's fine. But these are just some things that I've worked out over the past probably 15 or 20 years or so. So some different ways of attaching snare wires to snare drums. But when you buy a snare drum, they mostly arrive with this stuff attaching the snare wires. So, which is just a clear plastic kind of stuff that is fairly rigid, and it doesn't move in many ways at all. So it'll move up and down, and even when you just flick the snare wires off, it really pushes on them. So it's in my brain that I'm always thinking of how to improve things and how to change things. I usually throw that out the window, and either I'll go for a ribbon type of thing or string, and I just did a video on snare string, this kind of stuff, which is basically blind cord. So it's a cheaper way of buying a lot of snare string all at once, and you'll never run out ever again. So check out that other video if you like. This ribbon is like a material, and it's called grosgrain ribbon, I should say. It is just another way of attaching it, and it's very flexible. So you're going to get maximum resonance out of those snare wires. Now I'm fully aware that with certain applications you'll get a lot of sympathetic snare buzz from toms and things like that. So this might not work for you. But it is worth a try, because you'll probably find, at least if you've got a few snare drums in your collection, it might benefit one more than another. So I'll just show you why I've done this. And I always, for students, I always like to explain why we're having a particular lesson. So what I've found with different drums, and I'll just show you one. This one's a stainless steel Donette classic drum. And I know Ron Donette, who makes these drums, he is in favour of having quite a snare bed. And the snare bed, if you're not aware of what a snare bed is that where the snare wires land on the drum, it angles down from I'll show you on this side. So from here to here, it drops down. You might be able to see that. Can you see that? Yeah, just. Yep. So that's designed to let the snare wires press on that drum skin really effectively, and 100% all the way. So, but different brands of drums have different depths of those snare beds. So this one drops down a lot to allow those snare wires to seat into the top, that skin of the drum. And there's no right and wrong in my opinion. It's just that sometimes it works better than others, and it will give you a different sound. What I've found is that when you have a deep snare bed, I should say, sorry I'm tripping over my words, you get this shape of the snare wires, and this isn't even as pronounced as it was because I've got string on this drum. But you'll see the curve, see that curve of the snare wires following the curve of the drum. So the curve of this drum across that way is going like that, at that point where the snare wires are, like an arc. And what that does is hold your snare wires in this constant position, just slightly. Probably not as much as I'm doing it now. But one of the theories, now it's only a theory and it's only my opinion, is that when you start with something in that shape and then you hit the snare drum, now pretend the snare drum's upside down, so we're hitting it that direction, that the snare wires, if we're starting there, they can't go much further than how they're already stretched. Does that make sense? I hope so. So my theory is if I jack up the ends of the snare wires to try and flatten them into that position, then I'll have maximum, I don't know how to explain it, it's maximum stretch of those wires. Therefore, I can tap the drum even lighter and they'll activate more. So it's just another way that I feel that I can achieve a different sound. Certainly not better or worse, but it is another way of manipulating a snare drum to do a certain thing. So I'll show you with this drum. This is a Sakae Trilogy drum, and the snare wires are quite a lot flatter. I think you can see it there. Try and get the focus onto that point for you. There. See, it's with the arc of this drum, it's slightly rounded. And also, so this is the snare beds are there, but the sorry about all the buzz talking into the snare wires. This cord, this red cord that Sakae uses, is quite thick. Therefore, the ends are jacked up a lot off the snare drum. And that's what I mean by this point here. So where the snare string is just keeping the tabs off the back end of the drum. So where it goes under that plate there at the end of the wires is jacking it up just off the skin of the drum. Therefore it's making the ends higher so that the wires will seat flatter on the drum. So imagine if that was this stuff or the plastic, it would be down further with more of a rounder shape. Now that's cool if you want to have a drier kind of snare sound in a way. They won't resonate as much. And this is only stuff that I've found, and you will have your own opinion, and that's good and fine. But I can tell most of my drums, I've done this too, they do give me more sensitivity out of the wires. So it's just a tip that I would recommend that you experiment either with the ribbon or the string, and you can get different thicknesses of that nylon string as well. So you can buy this stuff at in Australia. You can get this at Spotlight or Lincraft, but look at any of your local material shops, places where you buy sheets of fabric and things like that, and you can buy a lot of it quite cheaply, and even the ribbon as well. So try it out and see what you think. Leave a comment, and thank you for watching.